Yo, peace, what's up? Yours truly, D Prime 215 here. If you're watching, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to your boy. I'd appreciate that. So for this video, talking about some of the wildest news in pro wrestling in a minute, not just in my opinion, but a lot of other people share this sentiment as well. It has been revealed that Kazuchika Okada, his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling will be expiring sometime around late January, top of February 2024. As of this video, it does not look like it's not set that he's going to resign with the company. Okada's been with New Japan for well over a decade, and in my opinion, he's been the face of New Japan for the past 7 to 8 years. I know he had like the initial changing of the guard, if you will, between him and Tanahashi, I say it was really like 20, 2012 to 2015 or 16. I'd say effectively since 17 on, but you could argue 15 or 16 as well, that Okada like became the face of New Japan, especially from being at the top of the card, main eventing Wrestle Kingdom, being heavyweight champion, so on and so forth. He's done that for quite some time. Tanahashi as well, but not in that time period. Like Tanahashi, I want to say like around 2015, 16, really 15ish, he kind of like tapered off from being at the top of the card all the time. Still has a very prominent role in New Japan. Obviously, we all love it. We all know and love Hiroshi Tanahashi, Uncle Tana, but I think I think we could all agree here that Okada has effectively been the face of New Japan, whether or not if he was heavyweight champion. So for the time period I just mentioned. So what does this mean at this point? Also, even before I get into that, so Okada, he's been there for over a decade, facing New Japan. He's had great matches with numerous talent there, whether they were with New Japan signed or like it was a talent exchange. So people like Minoru Suzuki, AJ Styles, Tanahashi, Shingo Takagi, Zack Sabre Jr., of course Kenny Omega, Naomichi Marufuji. Don't sleep on those matches. Go watch them. So great work. He's done a lot for New Japan. He even represented New Japan I remember when they made Tekken. They had him in Tekken, or not him per se, but his persona. They had him. It was like they linked it with King, and then to commemorate it, he wore the King mask a couple times. So even stuff like that, like he represents the company beyond just being in the ring. He's a great face for the company. So at this stage, that leaves two options, in my opinion, right? So you have AEW and you have WWE. I'll speak on both. I'll start with AEW. So AEW, a couple things. So one, he's appeared on programming before for them, television, pay-per-views. So you have that, and I'm fortunate enough to say that I watched him in person when he was in Philly. His match, him and Orange Cassidy versus Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. It was cool to see him in person. The first time I saw him wrestling in person in like 4 years, so that was pretty cool. But like I said, television and pay-per-view, he's worked great with everyone that, every time he was on AEW, he performed well. And on top of that, a lot of people he knows in AEW, he met initially back in New Japan. So you see that synergy is already there. And I think also it would probably be the better choice for him because he won't have to I don't think they'll have to really repackage him and like change his character that much. The only thing I think they'll have to do with him is not necessarily repackage him, but maybe reintroduce him to the audience, like to people who don't know and love who he is. Obviously, I know who Okada is, but the average person has no clue. The average Westerner, does not know who Kazuchika Okada is. So I think if they, reintroduce him, put together a nice video package, not necessarily have him cut promos per se, but you could have someone speak for him or have him say a couple words. I know he can speak English, but just package it in a way where you could make people who don't know about him care and understand oh, he is one of the best to do this for sure. And he's not old at all. He's only I believe 36. So he's been wrestling for a while. He's been a great wrestler for a very long time, but he's still young, so that's great there. So I think like I said, they just, they take the time to package him and, introduce him to the U.S. audience well. I think that would be great. WWE, on the other hand, oh, also he can still do work with New Japan because that work relationship is still there. It'll be in a reduced capacity, I'm sure, but like he could probably still appear at like a Wrestle Kingdom, perhaps. Who knows? So that's still there. On the other hand, we have WWE. So I think I do think there's a lot of potential here, but I'm not really too keen on it working out for him. Here's the thing, right? So let's look at Shinsuke Nakamura, his boy, right? So Shinsuke, like, no, he's not wrestling New Japan style anymore. He's just not, right? He's still great though. He's shown that he's still got it. So, let's just address that out the gate. My issue with it is like outside of NXT, it's been really like hot, cold, start, stop with Shinsuke. He performs well whenever he's needed to, so it's never really any issue with that. But it's like they get behind him, they fall back. They get behind him, they fall back. They had him lose to Jinder Mahal a bunch of times. They had him lose to AJ at WrestleMania 34, which y'all know AJ Styles is my favorite wrestler. I think that was a very bad mistake. Everything was pointing for Shinsuke to win that. I don't see why Shinsuke had to lose that and then lose every championship match against AJ after that in the ensuing months. That was, well, I think they had like a draw. But anyway, he never beat AJ for the belt after having so many matches after WrestleMania 34. I was there in person when he won the Royal Rumble. I was like, oh, wow, this is great. They're getting behind Shinsuke, a Japanese guy. They're going to push him to the moon. He's going to be the first, to my knowledge, first Japanese WWE champion. And they just dropped the ball. Then even recently, you look at, his feud with Seth Rollins. It's like, dude, like, why build him up so much and show that he's capable of carrying, that championship or like being at the top of the card, and then they drop it. I'm like, so my fear is like, if they bring him to WWE, if they bring Okada to WWE, he'll be like Shinsuke 2.0 in regards to how he's treated there. Now they will build up his character like Shinsuke. Like Shinsuke doesn't cut promos per se, and he does speak Japanese a bit as well. So like they'll put subtitles there, which is great. So he doesn't, like, Okada probably doesn't need someone to speak for him. I'm sure they could do like a similar treatment, like let him speak English sometimes, have him cut promos in Japanese and give subtitles. So that option is there. But I feel like, I hope I'm wrong, but just seeing how they did Shinsuke, I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same with Okada, where they get behind him and then they stop. And, that'll be an issue, or it could be an issue. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see Okada versus AJ Styles again, but I don't really think it's worth the risk of, him, them not really getting behind him. Also, WWE, I think, would be a bigger challenge as well, because the average WWE fan does not watch anything outside of WWE. They will not know who Kazuchika Okada is at all. Okada is just another Japanese guy to them. They do not care who he is. They don't know who he is or anything. So it's going to be a really, really big thing to like break him to the WWE audience, the WWE universe, which I don't think is impossible. Like they did that with Shinsuke Nakamura. So I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously it's been done before, but that is another step that they'll have to take. So that's something that has to be kept into consideration. And again, I just think it's very risky for him to go there. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not holding my breath for that option. Lastly, what I'll get to is something that this is just as, if not more, like shocking than the New Japan situation. Kazuchika Okada is actually going back to TNA. No, he's not signing there. Not in this video. I'm not saying that, but like he's going back to TNA to do a show with them. It's a Snake Eyes pay-per-view in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's part of a 6-man tag. It's him and Motor City Machine Guns, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just link the match, the information in the description of the video so I don't mess up the names. I don't have my phone in front of me right now. But, yeah, I'm just like, wow, he's going back to TNA. Now, obviously, when he was in TNA initially, it wasn't the greatest experience for him. They had him coming out. He was Okada playing off of, I believe it's pronounced Kato from Green Hornet. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And his time there was just terrible. It just was. I understand he was on excursion. He was there to learn. No, he was not the Rainmaker Okada that we all know and love today. But he shouldn't have been doing a lot of stuff that they had him doing. And it was a big reason why New Japan Pro Wrestling did not work with Impact or TNA for as long as they did. They didn't like how Okada was treated. Okada didn't like his time there. So there was like a legitimate issue for a long time, between Okada and TNA, and same thing, New Japan and TNA, right? So for him to come back after all this time and come back as the Rainmaker, I would hope so. Like, they can't have him go back through that again. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of trolls us with some like sort of Okada entrance. I wouldn't be surprised because Okada, his humor is like that. I understand because I get sarcastic as well. But he'll be coming back as the Rainmaker for all intents and purposes, and it's crazy, man. Like, where this goes from here, who knows? I don't think he's gonna sign with TNA. That would be, I don't say it would be preposterous, but I just don't think it's that likely. And he might do more shows with them. Who knows? But it's just really bizarre to see this happen. And I say all that to say this, man. I look at CM Punk. He went back to WWE. Okada's coming back to TNA. Now, obviously, Punk signed with WWE. Okada didn't sign with TNA, but he's doing a show with them, so obviously getting paid and stuff like that. So I say that to say this, man. If y'all got issues with people, if they're not as deep as Okada's and Punk's, and even if they are, if they can resolve their stuff and move past it and even work together, y'all need to pick up the phone, for those of y'all this applies to, and stop beefing with somebody because, over something that's really not even that important. You know what I mean? Like, I know, listen, I could be stubborn myself, but like at the end of the day, man, y'all got to move past that stuff. Because I'm like, this got to be motivation for y'all. Like, y'all looking at this like, oh, this is just some wrestling stuff. I mean, no, this is some life motivation, man. Bury those hatchets, B. Bury those hatchets. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they can do it, why can't you? That's how I feel, man. So that's my take on Okada going with TNA, along with how I feel about, if, his New Japan contract expiring, if he'll go to AEW, if he'll go to WWE. He could re-sign with New Japan for all we know, but again, this is just my speculation. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Him going back to TNA, going back to work, not signing a contract, going back to work with TNA. His New Japan situation, how you think he would fare in AEW, how you think he would fare in WWE. I'm really interested to hear what y'all guys think about this. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Once again, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to yours truly, Prime 215. That was a loud clap. Make sure you subscribe to your boy, and we'll see where Okada makes it rain next. All right, peace. Be good.